them the way they did. Let's go bottom to top. So, at the bottom, D tier, we have the Marrow Thieves. The Marrow Thieves is basically this group of indigenous people in Canada running north so they're able to escape people who want to basically harvest their bones because their bones are magical and contain dreams in them. These indigenous people have superpowers. Yep, and that sounds like an interesting comic. Not comic, sorry. Interesting concept until you actually read it. Then you're like, you ruined, you wrecked it. You just wrecked it. Yeah, it could have been better. So, it got to the point where there were so many negative reviews on Google reviews that, for some reason, out of nowhere, the negative reviews, or the Google reviews, now they're more difficult to find. I wonder why. No one liked it, and all the people that did like it were, like, I feel like did not read the book, because the good reviews contradicted what was in the book. It won an award somehow, and I read it and I was like, how did this win an award out of all things? This, and it's dystopian. It's not like I don't like dystopian. I'm currently reading a dystopian book called Tender is the Flesh. I think it's great. And then later in this list, there's in the S tier right here, this is dystopian. I just didn't like this book. I didn't think it was well. This dystopian is good. This dystopian is good. This dystopian is stupid. Okay, so moving on. In C tier, there's Out of My Mind and ReZero. Out of My Mind is basically this girl with cerebral palsy and her struggles in life, and her managing to get a AAC device, I think it's called, or ACC device, one of those communication devices where you're able to input sentences and it's able to speak for you if you're not capable of speaking or have a hard time speaking. So and she also manages to become part of a trivia team. Interesting concept. I feel like whoever wrote this did not ask anyone with cerebral palsy or any disability, because it doesn't feel like someone with a disability is speaking, even though it's first person. It feels like someone who watched a disability person and just typed down what they thought the person was thinking, and then just replaced I saw with I did. And also, I watched the Disney adaptation of this, the one on Disney Plus. That was great. This, she sometimes acts like a jerk, which can make sense if she's lashing out because she's not able to communicate well because she has a disability. But in the book, she sometimes does it for no reason, sometimes because she's a brat. They made the main character unlikable in it, and people were like, oh, it's so good. The movie's better, and the movie feels like, probably because they got actors with disabilities, that they actually had communication with people with disabilities to write this story. And this story in the movie feels way more personal to a person than this, which sounds more like a generalization of a group of people. ReZero. So with ReZero, the concept is basically this guy gets teleported into this world where anytime he dies, the day restarts, basically. And also he's helping a woman who might become queen, and there's witches attacking, stuff like that. Interesting concept. But here's the thing. The plot is okay. It's not fantastically written or anything like that, but it's decent enough. I would much rather read this in a novel version, though, a novel format, because every other page felt like fan service. And if you read it, you would know what I mean. Okay. If you're a teen or older, by teen, I mean 16 or older. Let me clarify when I say teen. If you're 16 or older, glance at the book, flip to a random page in any of the books, and you'll be like, what? And the images are, yes, they're characters and stuff in the story, but they're completely unnecessary in the plot. And it's not something that's like straight up, you know what, but it's like halfway there, if that makes sense. And there's a character that looks like a child, but it's like 1,000. They even acknowledge it's one of those type of characters. I it's a okay plot. The most of the characters are like decently written, except it feels like, did you really have to do that? Let's move on to B. PenPal. Pretty good story. Basically, this kid gets stalked for years, and like the like stalker's dangerous and stuff, and does like very weird things. Not weird like inappropriate, just like very weird dark things. Uh, and then like it has like a very dark twist at the end. But what happened? Pretty decent plot if you've read it. It's called Pen Pal because basically the way it started is the kid did one of those things where you tie a letter to a balloon, put a dollar in it, float it away. The letter inside has something like, "I go to this school, send me back a photo or a letter or something to complete this project." Except the kid keeps getting back Polaroids, and it's just like random blurry Polaroids, and then after a while the kid realizes he's in every single one of them. So, pretty decent plot, pretty well written. It's based off. It is actually a book adaptation of a Reddit story. Pretty much the same plot and everything. Very few changes, but the few changes that the writer did make kind of like messed up the pacing where it wasn't as good, if that makes sense. So if you're gonna read it, read the original Reddit no sleep post, not this. Next is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's pretty funny. It did make me like chuckle a few times. I thought, yeah, the plot's pretty good. If you're looking for the movie, you have to read all the installments in the series. But the thing is, the movie adaptation kind of like Frankenstein's the novels together, where like the first book is the beginning and the end of the movie, and then like the rest of the books are like kind of mixed in between the beginning and the end of the movie, if that makes sense. Pretty funny read. Dry humor though. I do like dry humor. That's not a problem for me. Just to have you intend to read it. I just thought it wasn't like the best writing. If that makes sense. Like it wasn't too deep. But it was interesting, very interesting. It was sci-fi, obviously. I would recommend reading that if you like dry humor. Paradise Lost, interesting. Oh, real quickly, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Basically, it's like this plain guy lives on Earth. Earth gets blown up, and he has to travel the galaxy with his friend to find a new home. That's the basic plot. That's the basic plot of the first book. Paradise Lost, basic plot, basically like Satan gets kicked out of heaven, he flies to Earth, and causes like sin to happen. That is the very, very basic plot. Now, it is very well written, and I can understand why people, when it came out, did not like it, because Satan is the protagonist. To clarify, he's not a good guy. He's very much shown as like very prideful and arrogant and does terrible things, but still, it humanizes him, if that makes sense. I thought that even though the descriptions and everything were good, the dialogue was good, stuff like that, it is an epic, by the way. Basically, a really long poem. The thing is, when stuff was described, sometimes not the right stuff was described. Because it described sin and death, like, I was like, oh, that's pretty awesome, the way he described it. That sounds crazy. Except, some of the stuff was important, and he would completely glaze over it. Like, he'd be like, okay, so there's like this 9 gates in the story. It's like, there's these 9 large gates. and then he just completely skims over that, and then it will be like, I'm in Eden, and there's the tree of life, but let me describe this random rock that's unnecessary for 10 pages. That's how it felt reading it. So if you're fine with a slow book with very odd, describing random things, then read it. Okay. Next. The manga adaptation of the Scarlet Letter. Now, it was pretty decent, but do not read it as if it's the book. Give this to someone who likes manga and doesn't like chapter books, or who's getting into the Scarlet Letter. Do not read this as the Scarlet Letter. It is not effective as the Scarlet Letter. It doesn't have everything in the Scarlet Letter. It's hard to... They found it kind of difficult to put it... Well, anyone would find it difficult image-wise, non-color image-wise, to portray, like, some of the characters being sick and stuff like that. Pretty decent. I would recommend reading the book, or give this to someone who hasn't read the book but wants to read the book. Like, this is basically a plot summary. It doesn't, like, go in deep descriptions like the book does. I don't think it's as emotional or effective as the book, but it is a pretty good adaptation. The people who made this adaptation, I believe, also made a Les Mis manga adaptation and a Pride and Prejudice adaptation. Very interesting. So American Psycho was interesting. Pretty well written, like, really well written. But it felt like, so basically, part of it is, so, like, a third of it is a guy, just like a random business guy in his life, and, like, him partying, abusing substances, working a job, stuff like that. Then, like, a third of it is, like, just him talking about bands and music he likes. And then a third of it is, like, killing. Which, it feels like it could be separated into 3 different parts. 2 books and 1 novelette. Novella. The 2 parts will be the killing part and business part, and then the novella would be him talking about music. It is... Okay, so it does cuss a lot, meaning if you're fine with that, it is okay read. It's really, really good writing. It's satire, obviously, if you read it. It's hard to... It describes some inappropriate stuff in, like, deep description, if that makes sense. Not deep description, just it describes some inappropriate stuff. Except, that's, like, only, like, a 20th of the book. And it's like, that can easily be skipped over by, like, being, like, flipping 2 or 3 pages, and then the story just continues. It's there to show how awful a person he is, no matter what the context is. So if you don't like that stuff and you read it, just, like, skip past those pages. Next we have Lolita. Again, this is really well written. And, it is really difficult to read, though, but that's good, because it's, like, about, like, a guy who likes a child, a little girl. And the thing is, this is not viewed as a positive. He tries justifying it. He is the narrator. He tries justifying it constantly. It is an interesting read. If you're uncomfortable with that stuff, don't read it. It's just really difficult to read, because it's him, like, narrating it and, like, just trying to justify the stuff he does. And there's nothing... Okay, so it doesn't straight up say, like, anything awful. But... Yeah, it doesn't technically say anything too bad, if that makes sense. But I think the implication is still there. If you were to read it, you know what I mean. Okay, it's one of those books where it's an interesting read. I can't exactly recommend it. That's how it is with American Psycho as well. Clap When You Land. That was pretty good, actually, to be honest. Basically, this guy dies, and his 2 daughters who don't know each other exist are, like, grieving and stuff, and it shows different cultures, because one is, like, Dominican Republic, one is in New York. So it shows like different cultures and stuff and grieving and stuff in different ways they struggle in life and like how their family helps and doesn't help. Pretty good book. And there's like this guy in it who's like an awful person, and he does like get what's coming to him. And that was, I when I read that, I wanted it to be like pure cinema, absolute cinema, because of how much that guy deserved bad stuff to happen to him. Not the dad. It's not the dad. There's You're gonna have to read it for yourself. It is pretty good. Next, Life of Pi. Basically, it's this guy named Piscine, and he's Piscine as in the pool, to clarify, like Piscine. Basically, Pi. Yeah, that his name's Pi. What happens is basically, it's him describing like his whole life story. Then what happens is it starts off normal, like talks about him growing up, bullying, faith, religion, stuff like that. Then he goes on this whole odyssey because like, his this full odyssey style thing, because he's like, he gets stuck basically on a boat with a couple of animals, including a tiger, and it's him like struggling to survive and stuff like that. There's a quote from it I do like where he's talking about, because he believes in 3 different religions. I think it's like Hindu, Islamic, and Christianity. And what happens, there's a quote something along the lines of this. It's like, what? Wait, how can you believe in 3 religions at once? Well, religion is like a 3-level house, and none of the houses have doubt. No, there's plenty of room for doubt on all levels, but without doubt, you cannot have faith. I just thought that was a really interesting quote. Moving on to A. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Now that is a play technically, but it is a good play. Well written. Basically Draco Malfoy's son and Harry Potter's, I forget, it's either son or daughter, basically go back in time to save someone from dying, and then it causes, when they come back to the present, makes it where Voldemort is in charge of everything, and like Draco's son has to undo everything to save everyone. Interesting. Someday I want to see it, because they had the parentheses things where it's like stage directions, and I'd like to see how some of the stuff that was described, I'd like to see how that's done on stage. If you like Harry Potter, this is like a sequel to the book series, so interesting. The Metamorphosis. I like the Metamorphosis. Basically, this guy gets turned into a bug, and he's like slowly becoming more and more bug-like, while his family slowly hate him more and more. It's like, the way the narrator talks, third person, very clinical, if that makes sense. Very monotone, like has no emotion, just the narrator stating stuff that happens. And basically, yeah, very interesting. The guy who wrote it actually did not want it to be published, but his friend published it after the guy died. So it is an interesting read. It's only about 40 pages long. It's a novella. If you like more depressing stuff, I recommend reading it. Moving on, Hamlet. So, I thought Hamlet was gonna be kind of like Romeo and Juliet. It was not. And I'm really glad of that, because if I had Romeo and Juliet on the list, it'd probably be in B or C tier. I didn't think Romeo and Juliet was that great. I thought it was an okay story, pretty decent story. I thought Hamlet was really good. Basically, there's this prince and his dad dies, and the dad's ghost basically tells him to take vengeance for him. And I have no way how to describe it with it sounding good. It's funny, it's well written, it has action, it has fighting, it has ghosts, it has stuff like that. Very good plot. And when I say it's funny, I mean there's like a few jokes that like actually made me like, ha, 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 Like, that was the most awkward laugh I could be like, haha, that's very funny. Yeah, stuff like that. Um, and I recommend reading it. It is a play, again. Uh, but with Hamlet, I'll tell you one joke that made me laugh. There's a group of actors that come to the kingdom. The prince tells one of the actors to recite a monologue. The actor starts reciting it. It's really long. So the prince's like assistant or servant goes like interrupts and says, "This is taking too long." That I don't know why. That just made me laugh. If you read it within the full thing, you'd probably find it funny. Um, Moving on. So we have the Communist Manifesto. I thought pretty decent ideas, pretty good ideas. Um, I just thought when I was reading it, I was like, oh, this would be hard to implement into a government or like countries and stuff. And I think the ideas that uh, was listed could work if it were like a more isolated community or country or island like that. Um, Very interesting ideas. I would like to see if like a country or community ever has that work to for them. I'd like to see how that works, stuff like that. And while reading it, before reading it, I was like, well, he'd probably have to try get the larger countries like America, Germany, France, stuff like that, to change their ways for it to most likely hold up at least for a while. Then when reading it, I learned, oh, that's what was trying to be done. This was sent to like the more larger countries to convince them to change over. Very interesting. Uzumaki. So this Uzumaki was really well written. Like, well, sorry, not well written. The writing was pretty decent, but not like whoa. The illustrations were really good. The reason I didn't put it in S is because basically, near the end, so it's pretty good. The first like 3/5, then the fourth fifth, it's not as good. Then the ending is really good. So the fourth fifth kind of like slows everything down. Uh, but besides that, this is like it great illustrations. The guy's known for making horror illustrations. Um, if if you are fine with really creepy stuff, then I'd recommend reading it. It does have like blood and stuff. It yeah, it does have one panel or like two with someone who is naked, but it is not like it is just because they're like at a hospital, if that makes sense. It's not like oh, it's like more of a clinical reason, if that makes sense. Like the person just had surgery on their stomach. So next, Flowers for Algernon. I thought this was a really interesting book. Oh, real quickly, Uzumaki, basically this town, like weird things keep happening, and every single time something weird happens, it always has like a spiral kind of shape in it, and it's like they call it the curse of the spiral. It starts with just like like being like I'm so obsessed with spirals I need to become one, to stuff like people turning into snails, people like combining, turning into monsters, stuff like that basically. I thought it was pretty good. Okay, so Flowers for Algernon. Basically, there's this guy with like a mental disability, and what happens is he's not good at spelling and stuff. He gets a surgery that like slowly makes him more and more intelligent, and one of the ways they test this intelligence is he does like mazes, like to see who goes faster against a mouse called Algernon. Um, um, it happens. The guy keeps getting smarter and smarter, but his emotions aren't maturing with him, and then to the point where it's like kind of ruining. Like he's becoming smarter, but it's also ruining his life at the same time, which is interesting. The ending's also interesting. I'm not going to spoil it for you though. I'd recommend reading it. It does have some like suggestive stuff when talking about in 2 chapters, but that's kind of about it. Um, the Wasp Factory. This was an interesting book. So basically, this kid named Frank lives on a island, and what happens? Oh, not kid. He's like 16. What happens is basically he's like basically isolated. He can leave the island if he wants to. His dad doesn't make him stay. He just decides not to leave the island. What happens is it's like him talking about stuff he does, like while alone, and it's really weird stuff. It's like killing animals and stuff like that, like blowing stuff up. He mentions killing a few people when he was like a younger kid, but he talks about it plainly, as if like, oh well, everyone goes through that. Like, so it is very interesting. The Wasp Factory. I'm not going to spoil it. Actually, you're probably not going to read this one because you just heard me describe it. Skip like 20 seconds or something. Actually, wait until I give you a thumbs up. Then that's how you'll know I'll be done describing the Wasp Factory, because the Wasp Factory doesn't appear until like page 119 or 121. Somewhere around there's when it actually describes it. So the Wasp Factory basically is like this clock face with holes drilled into it. Each hole leads to like a different way a wasp can die. Basically, the main character uses that as like a magic 8-ball to decide what to do with his day. Very interesting. What else? So yeah, stuff like that, and like the main character's convinced, oh, if I do this weird thing, it means I'll gain this ability to connect to people. No, it's very obvious that he does not, and that he's just drunk. But still, very interesting read. There was a twist at the end, okay, so a lot of the reasons he does the stuff is he blames it on women. This kid's really sexist. He blames everything on women. Then at the end, Frank turns out that he actually is a woman, and his dad had been lying to him the whole time. Because the dad was like, it was an experiment to see what would happen. So now that the people who do not want spoilers for this book are back, let's continue to the next one. So, House of Leaves. Now that was really good. It got to the point where I bought the book. So the book is interesting. It has 2 main parts. There's the most well-known part, which is basically this family moves into this house where the inside is bigger than the outside. It starts with like a extra room, then a quarter of an inch grows to a foot, and then like a hallway appears, which leads to a labyrinth so deep they have to like bring spelunking gear. And also, in some pages, when it talks about the labyrinth and the house growing bigger, it has like really weird formatting, which it is a pretty good read. And then the other second like main part, which it switches between them constantly in the story. But what happens is this like guy has, it's like the transcriber who's like changing all of this from writings into text after he found all of this, and it's like him talking about like different addictions he has. Some of the stuff is suggestive, and some of it is like substance abuse and stuff. None of it's viewed as positive. Look, see, there's the transcriber part down here, and then the actual the main part with the family is called the Navinson file. It has like a different font and stuff. Really good book. Really, really good book though. I would recommend reading it if you're fine with like this stuff that I listed. Yeah, highly recommend it. Okay, if you've read Stephen King books, it has like the same style of stuff as that, if that makes sense. So not straight up like meant for inappropriate use, if that makes sense, but it has like it's like 2 or 3 mentions of stuff that is close to that, but it is not full on inappropriate. The Bible's more inappropriate than this, if that makes sense. So speaking of Stephen King, The Green Mile. Basically, this it's like this not security guard. It's like this guy in a retirement home talking to a lady about when he worked as a guard at like a death row place. Basically, this guy gets brought in who has the ability to like heal things. So it's like him. He's basically a Jesus figure, not the narrator or the main character, but like the guy who can heal. The guy who can heal. His name's John Coffey. Basically, John Coffey is similar to a Jesus figure. Basically, yeah, he can heal people, and people like hate him for no reason. Well, I can't really say for no reason, but if you read the book, you'll get what I'm saying. Basically, it's like him trying. It's like they sneak him out of jail to like help someone who has like a tumor and stuff like that. It is a very depressing book and emotional. Made me cry twice. Would recommend 100%. Would recommend. Mouse. Again, just this has stuff close to what I said near the end of describing Uzumaki, but again, it's in more of a clinical sense because they're like in a concentration camp when stuff like that happens. Basically, this guy had a father who is a Jewish man, and the father lived in Poland or Germany or during World War II, meaning the guy got brought to like concentration camps and stuff and had to like evade the Germans. It's like it's like the father's life just retold using anthropomorphic mice. Really interesting story. Would recommend reading. Okay, A Clockwork Orange. Clockwork Orange basically is this teenager gets arrested for like doing violent crimes, and he learns that he can get out of jail quicker if he does an experimental treatment. So he does it, which like causes him to feel sick when thinking of violence. Meaning it's one of those things where it's like, well, yeah, they're technically doing the right thing, but also it's torturing another person basically. By doing the right thing. So who is exactly in... So no one's really in the right or the wrong. Interesting read. Well written. Something interesting... Real quickly, Mouse is a comic. That is 2-part comic. So in A Clockwork Orange, something it does with the text is very interesting because the way it's written, it's kind of like how... Okay, imagine someone from Shakespeare's time reading our books, if that makes sense. Because, let's say this is Shakespeare. Look at my hand. This is Shakespeare language. So it's slowly, over time, turned into modern English. What the book does is it keeps progressing it into, it's like future English, if that makes sense. Interesting book, worth the read. I would recommend it. So, here are the book. Since we're at the end, here's the books I would and wouldn't recommend. House of Leaves, would recommend. Green Mile, would recommend. Mouse, would recommend. Clockwork Orange, would recommend. The Wasp Machine, I wouldn't recommend it for most people. If you like really weird, really weird, let's say it'll come to me later. Like really weird traditions you do, not traditions, like daily traditions, if that makes sense. Flowers for Algernon, would recommend. Uzumaki, would recommend if you like creepy illustrations. A Communist Manufesto. If you want to learn more about like governments and stuff, I would recommend it. Hamlet, would recommend. Metamorphosis, would recommend. Harry Potter and The Cursed Child. If you like plays or if you like Harry Potter, I would recommend it. PenPal, if you like creepy stuff, I'd recommend it. Hitchhiker's Guide. If you like how do I describe it? If you like more dry comedy and sci-fi stuff, you'd like it. Paradise Lost, if you like epics or like extra biblical stuff, if that makes sense, I would recommend it. Like stuff like Dante's Inferno, I would recommend it. Scarlet Letter manga. I would recommend it for those who haven't read the Scarlet Letter and want to get into it. American Psycho. I'm I'm not sure who I would recommend. I would recommend this to people who like good writing and don't care about darker subjects. Uh, like and random spontaneous cuts to like random stuff that doesn't make sense. Actually, I can't think of anyone who would like this book. It's a book. It's a readable book basically. It's pretty decent, well written. Not like except there's not exactly anyone I would recommend read the book. Lolita, if you want to read it, you can. I'm not making you read it. It's a decent book, just very uncomfortable to read, if that makes sense. Clap When You Land, I would recommend reading it if you want to. This is not one of those books where it's like, you have to read it. It's like, it's a pretty decent story. It's like, if you want a casual read it. Don't read it on plane, or else you're going to be like, oh, is this going to crash? The whole time. Life of Pi. If you're fine with really slow books, if that makes sense, read it. Like, slow throughout the whole thing. If you like lists, stuff like that. Like, if you want to read something as if you're reading, like, a fictional person's journal, read this. Except, like, actually a fictional person's interview, then read this. Out of my mind. If you like bratty, people, read it. ReZero, if you like manga, or like, what's it called? Isekai? I think that's the genre, if you like that kind of stuff. It's an interesting read. No one read the Marrow Thieves, or the Marrow Thieves. So, that's all the books I've read this school year so far. If you have any other questions, comment them below. Bye.